Nothing brings the past back to life like old photographs, and motion pictures are generally best of all. Nowadays, we're quite accustomed to seeing clips of bygone film footage in TV programmes and videos, and we're rather inclined to take them for granted. But how does it come about that these images from former days are still accessible to the programme makers and local historians? Is there any surviving film of your own neighbourhood, 50 or even 100 years ago? And where would you go to find it? The place to look is a film archive. Like most regions, Lincolnshire has its own, where motion picture film showing life and work in the county is painstakingly restored, and then preserved for the future in specially controlled conditions. Because the sad truth is that if old motion picture film isn't properly looked after, it's likely to get badly damaged or even thrown away. One or two of our items have quite literally been rescued in the nick of time from refuse skips and rubbish dumps. In the days before video, motion pictures were shot on long lengths of photographic film. 16 or even 24 separate pictures were taken every second, and the film was moved through the camera or the projector by means of accurately punched perforations. But if those perforations get badly damaged, the film can no longer be run. What then? Another problem is that until the 1920s, the only kind of motion picture film widely available was the standard 35mm gauge, which was used in cinemas. But in the early days, this type of film was made of cellulose nitrate, which is highly flammable. Worst of all, it eventually decomposes. You can see how the pictures on this strip of film have already decayed beyond recovery. In another few months, there'll be nothing left of it but a few spoonfuls of brown powder. So if nitrate film isn't copied before it's too late, the images it contains will be lost forever. Early motion picture film was very bulky, and so were the cameras. But in the 1920s and 30s, much narrower types of film were developed for use in people's own homes, and the cameras were small enough to carry about in your hand. From now on, all sorts of people could produce a motion picture record of local events. These smaller cameras used safety film, which doesn't burn or decompose like nitrate. But that doesn't mean it can't be damaged. The vital perforations can still get torn. The joins may weaken or become distorted. And sometimes even worse things can happen. There isn't much that can be done with this sad specimen. So what we do at Lincolnshire Film Archive is to locate and rescue old motion picture film of Lincolnshire so that we can restore it while there's still time. We always hope that film will reach us properly labelled and in good condition. In that case, after careful cleaning, it'll be copied straight away onto safety film stock, in case the original decays. Nowadays, we'll generally copy the film onto video too. Here's some archive footage being run on a telecine machine. This scans the film electronically and displays the moving image on a TV monitor screen. Because the telecine moves the film through continuously, instead of one frame at a time like a projector, even a fragile film can be copied safely. After a trial run to make adjustments, the moving image from the original film is recorded onto broadcast quality videotape. A VHS copy made quickly and easily from this master tape is ideal for viewing later on to gather details for the index and catalogue. But if the film is too badly damaged to run, we can't even make a video transfer. In that case, a lot of careful conservation work will have to be done first. Joins may have to be remade, and that's quite a lengthy business, as you can see. The overlap area has to be scraped clean. And a special cement is then applied which bonds the pieces together. Torn film can be mended with special adhesive tape, although this is less permanent than a proper cement join. If the vital perforations along the edges have been damaged, they may need some very tricky and time-consuming repairs. And there's sometimes another problem. Over the years, film can shrink to the point where it simply won't fit onto any machine. With new and old film side by side, the difference is obvious. Here's a piece of fresh 35mm film. You can see how snugly it fits onto the toothed sprocket wheel that drives it. Now here's some film that's over 100 years old. It's too shrunk to fit. In a case like this, it may be necessary to copy the original one frame or picture at a time, using specially built apparatus. Here, each frame of a badly shrunk film is being rephotographed by a high-resolution camera connected to a computer with special software installed. One click of the mouse records one individual frame onto the hard disk. Then the film is moved by hand to the next frame, and that gets recorded in turn. And so it goes on. The trouble is that after you've worked your way through a couple of dozen frames like this, you've still only copied about 1 second of running time. A film that lasts 5 minutes will contain around 5,000 individual frames, every one of which will have to be copied separately. That takes some patience. But then comes the reward, as a motion picture from 100 years ago reappears on the screen. At this stage, it often turns out that many of the individual frames are severely blemished. Fortunately, modern computer technology enables marks like these to be disguised, though once again, in the worst cases, it has to be done one frame at a time. What's happening here is that the blemished areas are being replaced, digitally, by similar portions from somewhere else in the frame, or perhaps the previous frame. There now, that's better. After restoration, there's generally some research work to be done, especially if the film can had no label and there aren't any titles or captions to tell us where and when the scenes were taken. You can get a rough idea of the date from the clothes and vehicles. Sometimes there are other clues as well. This must be the 1920s. Better still, there may be something that dates the picture very precisely indeed. This poster, for example. By searching old newspaper files for cinema ads, we were able to date these scenes to within a day or two. With restoration work complete, the original film is placed in the special storage room, where the temperature and humidity are correctly maintained for long-term preservation. The fact that we now have a video copy doesn't mean that the film itself is no longer needed. In a few years' time, when video formats have improved or altered, we may need to go back to the originals and make some fresh transfers. But that's still not the end of the story. Films were made to be seen. Once we've restored and researched them, we want to get them back onto the screen where they belong. So as well as supplying material for TV programmes, we arrange regular archive film shows throughout the region. You'll often find us at exhibitions too, and seminars for local historians. We also produce a wide range of videos that you can buy to enjoy at home. These are specially compiled using our archive footage to illustrate certain themes, such as farming or the history of one particular region. Since 1986, we've rescued over 500 titles showing life and work in Lincolnshire. The details are on our website. But we can't start restoring a film until we find it, or somebody else finds it and brings it to us. And that's where you come in. Maybe you've got some old film yourself, or know where it might be found. If so, do please let us know, so that this treasure house of the county's local history can go on growing and serving the people of Lincolnshire better and better.